It's been a thrilling ride so far in the pages of Lazarus Planet, Revenge of the Gods, over from DC Comics. The series has done an excellent job kind of merging the worlds of the Shazam and Wonder Woman properties, utilizing plot threads, introducing some god characters to really kind of spin things off and pit both Wonder Woman and Shazam against several of the gods of the DC universe. And in the most recent issue of the series, Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods 2, we saw Shazam Billybatson become weakened by the wizard. My name is Araco Braddock, and today let's go ahead and dive into the pages of Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods number 3 to see if Wonder Woman's supporting cast and characters like yaraflor can help Billy out of the precarious situation he finds himself in. But before we get started on the review, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button on the video if you enjoy our content. And I want to kick off our review by introducing the context behind Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods 3 with DC Comics solicitation text for this issue. Is Wonder Woman responsible for the destruction wrought by the gods she's worshipped all her life? Back in man's world at last, Diana sees the horrors of the gods' war and questions all she's done to ensure the Amazons' survival. Is it too late to turn the tide and achieve peace? Meanwhile, Olympus itself trembles as Shazam's wizard takes revenge on his former champion. This issue is broken up into two separate stories. We're going to be breaking both down, but I want to kick off this review by introducing our first story called Revenge of the Gods Part 3. This one is written by G. Willow Wilson, illustrated by Emanuela Lupacchino and Cian Tormey. We have inks from Emanuela Lupacchino and Raul Fernandez, colors over from Jordie Bellaire, and we have letters from Pat Brosseau. Plus, we have our covers over from Lazarus Planet that are still drawn by the excellent Guillem March. Here's a look over at Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods number 3 for the cover of the issue. Love how we have the wizard kind of flying high in this cover, juxtaposed with a billybatson who's been kind of, zapped of some of his powers from his champion. So I thought that was a really arresting image. And I know Guillem March likes to get kind of really, contorted with his anatomy. So I think Guillem March did such an excellent job capturing the interesting way that Billy is kind of contorting his body over on the cover. I want to give a big thanks over to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this preview of the issue. And I think this is a great place to kind of start by talking a little bit about Cian Tormey and Emanuela Lupacchino's art in the issue. I think both of these creators are kind of perfectly suited over for a Wonder Woman story. We get really clear kind of facial expressions for each of these characters throughout the book. And I especially love some of the colors that Jordie Bellaire implements throughout the issue. I feel like we get such a kind of bright color tone, in these sequences with Wonder Woman and Diana that's juxtaposed really nicely between the scenes over, with billybatson that have this kind of blue and green hue a little bit later on in the story. And depending on the setting, Bellaire can really kind of shake up the colors, throughout the issue, which I also really, really appreciated. Plus, I really think kind of the page design, even on this page we're looking at right now with Billy kind of trapped over in the kind of gods of the issue, I think the way that some of these kind of panels are introduced and framed throughout this issue really bring a sense of immersion into the story that made it just so easy for me to read and enjoy Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods 3. Plus, I just really love all these characters that are introduced throughout the issue. I feel like it's not very often in the DC universe that we get to see the Wonder Woman and Shazam properties mixing, so I really enjoy the way that Emanuela Lupacchino and Cian Tormey draw characters like, yaraflor, Hecate, who's in this issue, and I even like some of those facial expressions over from, billybatson in his disguise. I think Jordie Bellaire's colors really enhance the artwork and give something special to this chapter. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the plot for Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods. Essentially, the issue is kind of broken up into multiple different plot threads as we kind of see Wonder Woman kind of catching up, with the Cheetah, who she has a long-standing relationship with. And I actually found the Cheetah to provide Wonder Woman with some really interesting moral support throughout this tale, and really thought that their relationship is actually kind of pretty deep in terms of the story over from writer G. Willow Wilson. Elsewhere, I really like these scenes where we kind of catch up, with Billy licking his wounds from how the wizard depowered him. Billy ends up running into some fascinating DC Universe characters, including Hecate, a character who's kind of been lingering throughout the series, who I've been wanting to mention in some earlier issues, but it's so cool how this character was kind of foreshadowed in previous installments, but essentially didn't really make their presence known until, I would argue, this chapter. I really love the writing across this series over from G. Willow Wilson, and think that the supporting cast of this series is quite in-depth and fascinating, which we also touched on in our last review. Billy Batson and yaraflor are just so kind of early on in their relationship with each other, and yaraflor is so early in her kind of career as a superhero that I think pairing her with any character in the DC universe is just so interesting and fascinating right now. This issue does quite a few things in terms of the Wonder Woman side, as well as we're kind of introduced to some long-standing Wonder Woman supporting characters. I don't want to spoil their identities because I think kind of the reveal of these characters in the issue was just a great cathartic moment for me in this tale. And, we've been kind of teased with a conflict between the gods and Wonder Woman supporting cast for a long time, but this issue actually makes good on that, and even reveals the identity of the mysterious kind of stranger character who we've been hinted at from several kind of previous issues of Wonder Woman, as well as Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods. So I think this issue is quite climactic and has a couple kind of decisive moments over for Wonder Woman. We get some great moments in the issue with Billy Batson as well. I'm loving how kind of all the plot threads are coalescing, and also I love how kind of Hippolyta's faction is separate from what Wonder Woman and Billy Batson are doing. I think there's so many characters in this story, but it is surprisingly easy to follow. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about the next story in the issue. This one is called Divine Intervention, and this one is written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, featuring artwork from Alitha Martinez, inks from Mark Morales and John Livesay, colors over from Alex Guimaraes, and letters from Becca Carey. So this kind of second story called Divine Intervention in Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods 3 was an interesting tale. It did feel a little bit redundant because I feel like a large portion of what we kind of seen the Amazons and the people of Themyscira, fighting back against the gods in so many separate issues. But I was kind of shocked to see, just like I have with kind of, several other backup stories in this collection, that by the time the issue ended, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad introduced some plot threads over into the story that I know are going to kind of spill into, future issues of Wonder Woman or Lazarus Planet, especially relating to the kind of character of Hippolyta and Philippus, as well as several kind of other characters that mount a separate battle against the gods here. So I think at the end of the day, when you kind of take a look at what this story accomplishes and the fact that maybe by the end of it, you'll be kind of intrigued with an additional plot point from Lazarus Planet, I do think that this Divine Intervention story, has a fascinating last page and picks up on some interesting plot points over for the tale. So I'm still incredibly happy with Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods. I think this is just such a unique way to fuse properties together and to tap into so many different characters throughout the DC universe. I really hope that maybe moving forward, DC will find some other context to kind of fuse Shazam and Wonder Woman together. I think due to the fact that these characters kind of share similar gods and story elements, that they just kind of enhance each other's franchises by sharing one story with another. Plus the way that this issue kind of references some of the things going on in Shazam's world with characters like Mary is also just kind of absolutely fascinating to me. If you have any interest in either of these properties at this point, I really highly encourage this series. I just love the use of all of the different gods and the really careful plotting and writing that G. Willow Wilson is lending to the main series alongside artists Cian, Tormey, and Emanuela Lupacchino. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming to check out our review of Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods #3. I want to know from you if you're enjoying this series as much as I do. I want to know if you think Shazam and Wonder Woman are kind of a natural fit for each other like I do. Well, thank you guys so much, and I'll be back really soon for more excellent comic book content. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.